You know, in this life, pain is not optional. Hurt is not a stranger. It visits every one of us. A broken heart, a lost opportunity, a mistake that keeps replaying in your mind. We've all been there. And too often we try to run from it, bury it, pretend it never happened. But here's the truth. You can't outrun what lives inside of you. You've got to face it. You've got to let it hurt. Because only when you allow yourself to feel it, only when you stop numbing it, can you begin to understand the lesson hidden inside the pain. See, healing doesn't come in a rush. Healing isn't about skipping the process. It's about surrendering to it. It's about sitting with the discomfort, breathing through the nights that feel unbearable, and trusting that your scars will one day tell a story of survival, not suffering. Every cut, every tear, every heartbreak is shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. That healing is not just for you, it's for the people you'll inspire, the lives you'll touch, and the battles you'll help others fight through by showing them what's possible. But after the hurt, after the healing, there comes a time to let it go, to release the weight you've been carrying, to step forward without the chains of yesterday holding you down. You don't move on by forgetting, you move on by forgiving. Forgiving life, forgiving others, forgiving yourself. And when you let it go, you step into freedom, you step into peace, you step into the next chapter of your life with a fire in your heart and a lightness in your soul. That, my friends, is how you finally move on. Pain is not something we can escape in this life. It will come knocking at your door in ways you never expect, and it does not ask for permission. A broken relationship, a dream slipping through your fingers, betrayal from someone you trusted, disappointment in yourself, whatever form it takes, pain is real and it will demand your attention. Too often when hurt finds us, our first instinct is to run from it, to numb it, to distract ourselves so we don't have to feel it. We bury ourselves in work, in noise, in other people's lives, in temporary escapes that only delay the inevitable. But the truth is, pain doesn't disappear just because you ignore it. It sits there quietly, waiting for the moment you slow down, waiting for the moment you can no longer pretend it isn't there. That's why you have to let it hurt. You have to stop resisting it. You have to allow yourself to sit in it as uncomfortable as it is, because only then will you begin to understand its purpose. Letting it hurt is not about drowning in sadness or falling into despair. It's about acknowledgement. It's about looking your pain in the eye and saying, yes, I see you. Yes, I feel you. It's about giving yourself permission to be human. We live in a world that glorifies strength, as if strength means never breaking down, never crying, never showing weakness. But real strength is not the absence of tears. Real strength is the courage to cry them. Real strength is admitting that you are hurt, that you are bleeding, that something inside you is broken. Because when you refuse to acknowledge it, when you put on a mask and act like everything is fine, you are only building walls around your own heart. And those walls over time keep out not only the pain, but also the possibility of love, of joy, of growth. There is power in vulnerability. There is power in saying, this hurt me. Some people are so afraid of being seen as weak that they never allow themselves to heal. They suppress their emotions, thinking that silence will save them. But silence becomes a prison. If you do not allow yourself to feel the hurt, that hurt will take root in your body, in your mind, in your spirit. It will come out in ways you don't even recognize, in your anger, in your bitterness, in your inability to trust, in your fear of trying again. You may think you've buried it, but in reality, it is shaping your decisions, shaping your relationships, shaping your future. That's why you must let it hurt, because by feeling it fully, you are pulling it out from the shadows and into the light. Think about the way the body heals from a physical wound. If you get cut and you cover it up without cleaning it, infection will set in, it will fester, and over time it becomes more dangerous, more painful, more damaging than the original wound. The only way to heal is to go through the pain of cleaning it, exposing it to air, allowing the process to happen. Emotional wounds are no different. If you pretend they don't exist, if you cover them with distractions or denial, they will infect your spirit. You cannot heal what you refuse to feel. Letting it hurt is like cleaning the wound. It stings, it burns, it feels unbearable at times. But it is the only way to prevent the deeper damage of carrying that pain unacknowledged for years. When you let it hurt, you are not just allowing the pain, you are also allowing the lessons. Pain is a teacher, and it speaks a language we often ignore. Every heartbreak, every loss, every disappointment carries wisdom. It shows you where you placed your trust, what you valued, what you need to change, and how deeply you are capable of feeling. It reveals your resilience, your thresholds, your blind spots. But you cannot learn from pain you refuse to face. You cannot gain wisdom from wounds you keep hiding. By letting it hurt, you open yourself to the knowledge that comes with it, and that knowledge will prepare you for the life that lies ahead. Some people go through life repeating the same cycles, attracting the same heartbreaks, facing the same disappointments because they never allowed themselves to feel the first wound. They rushed past the pain, they buried it. And because they didn't face it, they never learned the lesson it carried. Life, in its persistence, will keep sending you the same test until you finally sit down and deal with it. That is why letting it hurt is not optional if you want to grow. You can only break the cycle by allowing the pain to pass through you, not around you. Now, to me, here's what's especially. There's another truth about hurt. It connects us. When you let it hurt, you discover empathy. You begin to see the humanity in others. You realize you are not the only one carrying scars, not the only one who has cried into the night, not the only one who has walked through fire. Pain has a way of stripping us down to our most authentic selves, and in that place, you begin to understand others in a deeper way. But that connection only happens if you don't run from your pain. If you let it hurt, you allow it to soften you instead of harden you, to open you instead of close you, to teach you compassion instead of resentment. Letting it hurt also forces you to slow down. In a world that pushes us to keep moving, keep producing, keep achieving, pain makes us stop. It interrupts the script we try to write for ourselves. And in that pause, there is opportunity. Opportunity to reflect, to reassess, to reconnect with what truly matters. Sometimes the hurt is life's way of redirecting you, of pulling you away from a path that no longer serves you. But if you are too busy pretending you're fine, you will miss the redirection. You will keep running towards something that was never meant for you. The hurt, when you allow it, becomes a guide. And there's something sacred about those moments when the hurt feels overwhelming. Because in those moments, you discover parts of yourself you never knew existed. You find strength in places you thought were empty. You realize you can survive things you once thought would break you. Letting it hurt doesn't destroy you. It reveals you. It brings to the surface your rawest, most unfiltered self. And that self is not weak. That self is powerful. That self is real. Healing does not come on your schedule, and it does not obey the clock you set in your mind. It is not something you can rush, force, or demand. Healing has its own rhythm, its own flow, its own sacred timing. When pain has touched you, when life has knocked you down and broken pieces of your heart, you cannot skip the process of mending. You cannot simply declare yourself healed because you are tired of hurting. Healing requires surrender. It requires patience. It requires the willingness to walk through the quiet, slow, often uncomfortable path of repairing what has been torn apart inside you. And the truth is, many people never truly heal because they are too eager to move on before the wound has closed. They slap a bandage over a deep cut. They smile through the pain, and they tell the world they are fine. But inside, the wound is still open, still bleeding, still aching. Healing only begins when you stop pretending and allow yourself to sit with the reality of where you are. There is a difference between ignoring your pain and tending to it. Ignoring it looks like distractions, addictions, or constant busyness. Tending to it looks like stillness, reflection, and the courage to face what hurts. Healing is not glamorous. It often feels messy. It comes with days where you feel like you are moving backward instead of forward. It comes with moments when the sadness resurfaces out of nowhere, when the anger returns after you thought it was gone, when the tears come again after weeks of dry eyes. That is not failure. That is part of the process. Healing is rarely a straight line. It is more like a spiral. You revisit the same pain from different angles, and with each turn you gain a little more understanding, a little more strength, a little more distance from the sharpness of the hurt. When you let yourself heal, you allow your scars to form. A scar does not mean the wound never existed. It means it has closed. It has knit itself together. It has become a part of your story without defining your entire story. Too many people keep reopening their wounds because they won't stop picking at them, won't stop replaying the same memories, won't stop holding on to bitterness. Healing means you accept that what happened happened. You cannot rewrite it. You cannot undo it. You cannot bargain with it. All you can do is learn to live with it in a way that makes you stronger, not weaker. And when you begin to heal, you start to notice the subtle ways your heart grows softer instead of harder, lighter instead of heavier. Healing also demands honesty. You cannot heal from what you will not admit. If you are still blaming others without looking at yourself, if you are still denying your own role in what happened, if you are still hiding behind excuses, the healing process will stall. Honesty requires you to confront the truth, even when it is uncomfortable. It forces you to ask questions you would rather avoid. What did I ignore? What did I settle for? What boundaries did I fail to set? What pain am I carrying that doesn't belong to me? Healing pulls you into self-examination, and self-examination leads to wisdom. Without honesty, the same wounds will repeat themselves because the lessons remain unlearned. One of the hardest parts of healing is the waiting. You want to wake up one morning and feel whole again. You want to flip a switch and erase the ache. But healing is not an instant transformation. It is a gradual unfolding. Just as the body needs time to mend a broken bone, the heart needs time to mend from emotional fractures. You may not notice the small shifts day by day, but over weeks, months, and years, you begin to look back and realize you are not the same person who once lay shattered. You realize the weight has lessened. The tears are fewer. The memories sting less sharply. That is the quiet work of healing. Slow, unseen, but undeniably powerful. And sometimes healing requires help beyond yourself. It requires reaching out, speaking up, leaning on others when your own strength feels depleted. Too many people suffer alone because they think needing support is weakness. In reality, it is wisdom. Healing often comes through connection, through the words of a friend, through the guidance of a mentor, through the compassion of a stranger who has walked a similar road. You are not meant to carry your pain in isolation. The act of sharing your burden lightens it, and in the process, you discover that healing is not just an individual journey, but a collective one. When you allow yourself to heal, you also allow yourself to grow. Pain leaves marks, yes, but it also creates space for transformation. It strips away illusions, shatters false securities, and humbles you in ways nothing else can. Healing is where you begin to rebuild, not just putting the pieces back the way they were, but creating something new, something stronger, something wiser. The version of you that emerges on the other side of healing is not the same version that entered the fire. You come out refined, tested, tempered. That growth is what makes healing so vital. It turns suffering into strength, loss into wisdom, heartbreak into resilience. There will be moments when healing feels like loneliness, moments when you wonder if the process will ever end, moments when you envy those who seem to move on so easily, forgetting that appearances can be deceiving. But in those lonely spaces, you are being rebuilt. Silence and solitude are often the workshops of healing. They strip away the noise so you can hear your own soul, so you can listen to the quiet whispers of your heart that were drowned out by the chaos of life. Do not fear that silence. It is where your spirit begins to mend itself. Healing is not about becoming the same as you once were. You cannot return to who you were before the hurt. That version of you is gone, and clinging to it only prolongs your pain. Healing is about becoming someone new, someone shaped by the hurt but not defined by it, someone who carries scars but not open wounds, someone who understands the depth of loss but also the possibility of renewal. It is about embracing the truth that brokenness does not mean the end. It often marks the beginning of a new way of living, a new way of seeing, a new way of being. Letting go is one of the hardest things a human being can ever learn to do. The mind wants to hold on. It wants to replay the past, to rewrite the story, to ask 1,000 what ifs that never bring peace. The heart clings to memories, to moments, to the familiar, even when the familiar has already left. The body holds tension, weight, stress from experiences long gone. And yet life keeps moving. Time does not stop. The world does not pause because of your pain. The longer you hold on, the heavier it becomes. The longer you grip the past, the less space you have for the future. Letting go is not about forgetting what happened or pretending it never mattered. It is about loosening your grasp on what no longer serves you, so you can finally step into the life that still waits ahead of you. Letting go begins with a decision, but it does not end with one. You don't simply wake up and say, "I'm over it," and find your heart free. Letting go is a practice, a discipline, a daily choice. Some days you will feel strong and certain, able to release what once chained you. Other days, the memories will return, the emotions will rise, and you will have to choose again to release them. That is the process. It is not clean. It is not instant. It is not always linear. But the more you practice it, the lighter you begin to feel. And slowly, over time, you start to realize you are no longer carrying what once consumed you. One of the greatest lies we tell ourselves is that holding on keeps us safe. We believe that if we replay what happened, if we keep analyzing it, if we keep our grip on the pain, we can control it. But holding on is not control. It is captivity. You are not protecting yourself by revisiting the same hurt. You are chaining yourself to it. Letting go means trusting that you don't need to hold every detail, every wound, every mistake in your hands in order to survive. You have to trust that life can carry you forward, even without the weight of what is behind you. Forgiveness is often the key to letting go. And forgiveness does not mean excusing what was done, pretending it was okay, or allowing it to happen again. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It is about you. It is about releasing the grip that anger and resentment have on your soul. As long as you hold on to bitterness, you are giving your energy, your peace, your joy to someone who may not even think about you anymore. Lord, this is why. At the end of the summer, I saw forgiveness is reclaiming that energy, not for their sake, but for your own. And forgiveness extends not only to others, but also to yourself. You cannot let go if you are still punishing yourself for the mistakes you made. You must learn to release yourself from the prison of guilt, to understand that you did the best you could with what you knew at the time, and to allow yourself to move forward without dragging shame like a ball and chain. Letting go also means releasing the illusion of control. You cannot control how people see you. You cannot control the choices others make. You cannot control the past, no matter how much you replay it. All you can control is your response in this moment. Holding on is an attempt to rewrite what cannot be rewritten. Letting go is the acceptance that what happened, happened. It is not resignation, it is clarity. It is the understanding that your power is not in changing the past, but in creating the future. There is a freedom that comes when you let go, a lightness that you cannot feel as long as you are carrying the burdens of yesterday. Imagine walking through life with a backpack full of rocks. Every regret, every betrayal, every disappointment, every loss, adding another stone to the load. At first you manage to carry it. You may even convince yourself you are strong enough to bear it forever. But eventually the weight wears you down. It steals your joy. It drains your energy. It robs you of your ability to be present in the now. Letting go is the moment you take off the backpack. It is the moment you allow yourself to breathe, to stand tall again, to walk freely without dragging the past behind you. Number 4, you say, I respect you as a man. He said, yes. And he did it through your essay. You answered, I was impaired because you denied me the opportunity to respond to your first inquiry. You denied. Now, how is your faith? If you have any, letting go requires courage because it feels like a death of sorts. It feels like saying goodbye to something that once defined you. But sometimes the hardest goodbyes are the ones that set you free. You are not losing yourself when you let go. You are finding yourself again. Underneath the layers of pain and attachment that have been weighing you down, you are rediscovering the part of you that is whole, the part of you that is not chained to what was, the part of you that is ready to embrace what can be. And in letting go, you begin to make room for new opportunities, new relationships, new joy, new beginnings. As long as your hands are full of the past, they cannot receive the future. Letting go is not just about release. It is about readiness. It is about preparing yourself for the blessings that cannot enter a heart still crowded with bitterness and regret. When you let go, you create space for life to surprise you, to gift you with things you never imagined, to bring you peace you thought was impossible. There will be moments when you are tempted to pick it back up, to revisit the past one more time, to reopen the wound you worked so hard to close. In those moments, remind yourself of the weight you carried and the freedom you felt when you laid it down. Remind yourself that holding on never changed anything and letting go was the only thing that ever did. Letting go is not a one-time act. It is a continual choice to free yourself.